The sun had barely risen over the Kalahari, spreading thin rays of gold over a landscape still soaked in the hush of night. A gust of wind swept fine sand into low whirls, brushing against the boots of a lone man trudging across the brittle terrain. His name was Thomas Hale. 48, a former wildlife ranger turned documentary filmmaker who had returned to Botswana after nearly a decade away. He'd come chasing silence and truth, not headlines. After losing his wife to cancer and watching his film career dissolve into commercial fluff, the wilderness called him back like an old friend who hadn't forgotten him. He wanted a final story, something real, something that could justify the ache in his chest and the camera in his hands. 3 days into a solo trek, meant for filming the lesser-seen behaviors of desert-dwelling predators, Tom spotted the abnormal shape. From a distance, it looked like a boulder scattered with scavengers, vultures mostly. But something about the stillness was wrong. He raised his camera instinctively, zooming in. It was a lion. Not just any lion either. Huge, though withered now, a living legend of the savannah stretched out like a dying god. The scavengers hung back, wary. The lion, though gaunt and near skeletal, still radiated a sort of dormant fury. But its breaths came shallow. Its golden eyes, rimmed with dust and age, fixed on Tom like embers in dying ash. Tom dropped his camera. He didn't remember running. Just that suddenly he was there, kneeling beside the animal, his shadow trembling over that matted golden mane. The lion's flank barely moved. Ribs poked through the skin like curved blades beneath the surface. A snarl formed, barely a breath, but there was no strength behind it. The king had fallen. He should have turned back. Filmmakers didn't interfere, not if they wanted respect. But Tom wasn't here for respect. "I won't let you die out here," he muttered, unsure if he was speaking to the lion or himself. Over the next hour, Tom went back and forth to his camp a mile away, fetching water, wet cloth, and rehydration salts. He used a tarp to shield the beast from the sun. He poured slow, agonizing drips of water into its mouth, careful not to spill, cradling that massive head like it was a child's. The lion didn't move for the first hour. Then, a twitch. An eye blinked. A rough cough that sounded like gravel scraping together. Tom stayed up all night, whispering nonsense to keep himself awake, occasionally resting his hand against the lion's side to check for breath. By dawn, the vultures had gone. 3 days passed. By the 4th, the lion was standing. Tom named him Mosi, a Setswana word meaning smoke, because that's what the lion had seemed like, fading, drifting, insubstantial. Now he was regaining weight, strength, a low growl building in his throat when hyenas came too close. But he didn't leave. Not yet. Tom filmed every moment. Mosey walking alongside him. Mosey snarling at shadows. Mosey, once again, king. But the truly stunning part came 2 weeks later, when Tom stumbled on a pride. Mosey's pride. They had thought him dead. Another male had taken over, a younger lion, violent and insecure. The reunion could have meant slaughter, but it didn't, because Mosey didn't attack. He stood at the edge of the trees and let out a roar, not of challenge, not of submission, a roar of return. The lionesses emerged from the brush, not hostile, curious. And then one of them approached, nudged Mosey, another followed. A slow procession of acceptance. Tom stood filming, stunned. The younger male circled, snarled, but didn't charge. Perhaps it was the way Mosey looked, half ghost, half legend. Perhaps it was something deeper, unspoken. The pride didn't reject him. They didn't bow, but they didn't fight either. They gave him space, a place. Tom posted the footage under a simple title, The lion who wouldn't die. Within 48 hours, the video went viral. By the end of the week, major networks were calling. And by the month's end, the world would come to know the story of a dying lion and the man who saved him. And the moment, a single roar shook the boundaries of the wild and the human heart alike.